48449. You should have. Every home should have got it in the 48449 zip code. Our first time using that was kind of easy. Not too expensive either. So maybe we'll be doing this more in the future as we get a handle on some of the things we're going through. But we're advertised our trunk or treat in Uptown on October 31st. And we advertised our coat drive. That's starting in November. Lennon Area Food Pantry is expanding to Lennon Area Compassionate Ministries, and this is our first step in that regard, trying to do a coat drive and give out some coats this winter for people who need those. We've been looking at the Old Testament, and I want to focus on Abraham a little bit. We looked at Moses last week and the Passover, and I mentioned that the Passover meal that was given was before the giving of the law on Mount Sinai, which happened in Exodus 19 and 20, okay, is when the Sinai covenant, the law, came in. The law brings us to Christ because nobody can ever accomplish law. Nobody can ever win by performing for God. And the reason we can't win by performing for God, because within us lies something that doesn't allow us to perform well. We're not able to accomplish the law, so it brings us to a place where we need grace. We need something besides our achieving to do that. And so Abraham, in Genesis 12, 1 through 3, when he left his homeland, he followed after what God asked him to a land I'll show you. When you get there, I'll let you know, but I'm going to make you a blessing, and then you're going to bless others. That whole process right there is all about faith. And Abraham was counted as righteous because of his faith, right? Because of his faith. And so I'm going to show us something cool. I was just reading up to Romans chapter 5, trying to read ahead in our readings. And it's really super clear here what I've been trying to communicate. It's kind of neat how this happens. So we go to Romans here. Romans 4, all right, I'm going to read it. Abraham was, humanly speaking, the founder of our Jewish nation. What did he discover about being made right with God? If it is good deeds, he made him accept. If his good deeds made him acceptable to God, he would not have had something to boast about. But that was not God's way. For the scriptures tell us Abraham believed God and counted him as righteous because of his faith. So it was not what Abraham did. It was what he believed. He believed in God, all right? When people work, their wages are not a gift, but something they have earned, all right? But people are counted as righteous not because of their work, but because of their faith in God who forgives sinners. David also spoke of this when he described the happiness of those who declared righteous without working for it. Oh, what joy for those whose disobedience is forgiven, whose sins are put out of sight. Yes, what joy for those whose record the Lord has cleared of sin. Sorry for my reading. Now is the blessing only for the Jews? He's asking questions. Is this a Jewish thing? Or is this also for the uncircumcised Gentiles? Well, we've been saying about Abraham that Abraham was counted as righteous by God because of his faith. But how did this happen? Was he counted as righteous only after he was circumcised? So there was this act of circumcision would let people identify as a Jew. Sort of like we do baptism today. We have baptism that lets us identify as a Christ follower. Same idea, context. An outward sort of reaction to hopefully something that's happened inward. Let me keep reading. Was he counted as righteous only after he was circumcised, or was it before he was circumcised? Clearly, God accepted Abraham before he was circumcised. Circumcision was a sign that Abraham already had faith and that God had already accepted him and declared him to be righteous even before he was circumcised. So this faith that Abraham is what made him right with God, not what he did to his body to say I'm right with God. So Abraham is the spiritual father of those who have faith but not have been circumcised. They are counted as righteous because of their faith. And Abraham is also a spiritual father of those who have been circumcised, but only if they have the same kind of faith Abraham had before he was circumcised. Clearly, God's promise to give the whole earth to Abraham, in this sense, was based not on his obedience to God's law. The official law didn't even exist, but on our right relationship with God that comes by faith. Yeah, so this idea of God working in our life is our belief in God. And so it's not about us doing something, not about me asking forgiveness in Jesus. That does not make me right. It's believing in Jesus and walking in that belief in my life. And as we walk in that belief, I believe the grace that Jesus gave to forgive, which is very important, but he also gave the grace of the empty tomb to live in the abundance of God, which means have us changed on the inside. And so, yeah, it's just an interesting thing here that sometimes we get it wrong. And I think it's contagious, the wrongness. It's called religion. Look what I can do. I can dance for you, God. I can do all these things. Now, it doesn't mean that the law should be ignored. Should we keep on sinning so grace may abound? And Romans 6 says, absolutely not. Are you crazy? I mean, so the law is good for us. The law, even trying to follow the law and have the law part of our life, and the precepts and the various things it's teaching, things that are applicable to us, is very healthy. But we don't attain anything. We just do that because we love God. We believe in him, and he's our God, and we follow him. And then as we're following, he starts tuning our heart. It's tuning us into our heart and our needs of our heart. And so the same way we confess our sins, we confess our heart to God. God, I have heart issues. Help me. Change me. Make me yours. Isn't that a beautiful walk? It's not on us, it's on him. All we have to do is be real as we realize, as we grow, as we comprehend who God is in our life. And so I want to encourage you that, just to be real with God. Take some time. Try to slow your day down enough. Find a place, find your prayer closet. Talk to God about those things that you can't talk to anybody. Maybe you can't even talk to God about. Maybe you even don't even know how to express them. Say, God, I just feel something inside me that I don't think is right. Can I talk to you about it? Can you help me with it? Can you reveal it to me? Make it clear to me so I can confess it to you, and then we can move down the road, because once I confess it, as far as the east is from the west, your power is great. Your grace is awesome. Anyways, I just want to encourage you with that. I thought it was neat as I read Romans today, how clear it was as far as what we've been talking about in church a little bit on our Sunday morning services. God bless you. Have a